Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this part of the programme. Delighted to see people. I can see everyone's coming online after the main stage presentation by Penny Dash. My name's Sian Evans. I am Deputy Director for the Local Knowledge and Intelligence Service with the Office for Health Improvement and Disparities, and delighted to be chairing this session today. This is one of the lightning sessions, so we've got a really enticing sounding presentation from Chris Bealey, Head of Data Science, and Karen Bradley, Principal Consultant from the Strategy Unit. So they should be joining us any minute. Thank you. I can see Karen coming online. Hi, Karen, and Chris is there. Just a reminder, please do put your questions in the Q&A, and I think there is an opportunity to if someone's already asked the question, you can click on it to like it. So please do that, because we'll hopefully have a little bit of time at the end to pick up a couple of sessions. At which point, because we've only got 15 minutes, I'm going to hand over. Is it Karen who's kicking off?
Oh, thank you, Sian. That's a lovely welcome. And hello, everybody. So I can't remember the exact title of our chat. It came from the fact that Chris and I the hospital programme and the rollout of a model, the capacity model, using new hospitals, and Chris do a bit of a interview kind of chat to make it little no slides away. So thank you all very much for joining us, and I'll ask Chris to kick off. Oh. So, Chris. Oh, you're on mute, Chris. You're on mute.
Sorry about that, everyone. It was working beautifully until I joined the stage, and then I lost all sounds. I have no idea what Karen just said, so I'm sorry. I'm going to just crash straight on as if nothing happened, because I think that's the best way. So Karen is here to talk about her work with the new hospital programme demand and capacity model that we've been working on for 2 years together. I'm just going to give a very, very quick reflection on the context in which we were doing it. And then I'm going to just have a bit of a chat with Karen, ask her some questions. So basically, I was working on this programme for a little while before Karen joined. Everything was all idyllic and quiet for a while. We were just tinkering, building stuff as analysts do. And then we got to delivery phase, rolling out with lots of hospitals, and then it became very difficult from an operational point of view to keep calm and carry on. And that is where Karen joined us, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to ask you the first question now, Karen, after the context. So what did you notice coming into this project, and what specific approaches did you adopt as a consequence?
So I have a risk of too much, so Chris is going to be quite brutal with me and shut me off when I've said too much. But yes, so I knew the programme, and I was somebody else was rolling out the model to us rolling out the model. We went from to be tested with one person, with one trust, to can you roll 7 trusts. And when I was asked to operationalise the delivery, I very quickly realised I'd got some really stressed internal people, really worried about the readiness of the model, but also I reckon there was some really unhappy out there as well. So a client. This was the difficult thing with the new hospitals programme. The client is new hospitals programme, so NHS England type folk, but actually the people we were going to be working with hospital trusts who I've spent many years trying to agreement to build a hospital. So I recognised that they were probably quite unhappy, but also they might not welcome us. There was going to be no red carpet in and saying, hey, let's use this standardised demand model. So I recognise that. So knowing all those things and knowing that the way we were and the way it wrong, we were going to ask for forgiveness quite a lot. And so and also a group of people want to play very much with us. So I decided that the way to manage this process was high humility, kindness. As a team, we needed to create a minimum station because the 7th of December live and we'd got 7 trusts to train. Start saying no to things because I knew we'd only got 7 weeks to get delivery focused, and I had to renegotiate the delivery of no, we can't roll this out to 27 months. We're going to have to do it in sections, etc., etc. And I also recognise I am an analyst and I am not a data scientist. So knowing that my skills are around operational delivery, about how hospitals work. So created a tripartite leadership team. So myself, Chris, Jake Parsons from an analytics, and the fact that he did this work manually for years, the demand and the capacity of a hospital. And so I recognised the 3 of us had to come together for all decision making. I was not, none of us individually was capable of making all of the decisions. So and so those were the of the approach that I took.
Yeah, so and that's a very nice segue actually to the next question, which is how did this project differ from work you'd done previously, and what approaches to project delivery did you adopt as a consequence?
Yeah, so thank you, Chris, because I like to do things in a very inclusive way and to hear everybody's views and to take kind of like my way through something by understanding the needs or requirements. In this situation, I had to become a dictator with laser focus. That was my laser focus. Our job was to get the people to use it correctly and to produce a description of what they did. Full stop. That's what I had. And so throughout this process, that's what I had to focus on. We'd got a minimum specification that Chris, that you'd promised that we were going to deliver to. You and I knew where the edges of what we could and what we might not deliver. So we didn't overpromise. We just said this, but we also knew that it would improve. We knew that feedback. We knew that we were speaking with experts. So there was this kind of like, because it was chaotic, I had to create sense out of the chaos. So being the person who said, no, this is what we're doing. This is what was the approach I had to do. And that wasn't something, like I said, that I was used to doing. I also had to say no a lot. I had to make really difficult decisions and work out what was critical got to do and what was a nice to have, and therefore I will have frustrated many people, many of my colleagues, many of the trusts by just saying no, but that was to ensure that we delivered a thing that worked, and then we could open it up. So after about 3 months of us building confidence, building knowledge, experience, getting feedback, I was able to be less dictatorial and more open. But still, we had limited budget, we had limited time. There was a number of challenges that we faced along the way, both technically, relationally. So some of that kind of laser focus I had to keep going with it. That was my job, to keep us on track, open things up as much as I can, change, recognize that things would change, that we will need to do things differently, adopting those changes as we went along, constantly changing our trajectory, but with the single goal of use the model correctly and a description of what they did.
Yeah, well, that's another beautiful segue. I feel like we've practiced this talk 100 times, Karen, because of all the great segues you've given me, but that's not really true. What are some of the challenges within the project that relate to feedback loops and decision making?
So I think it's fair to say we were all to deploying what was a piece of software, and recognizing that lots of people suddenly wanted changes and improvements, and we either also that we got limited people, limited from what skill we had, but limited also from what we could focus on at once. We didn't have a never-ending supply of data scientists. We didn't have a never-ending supply of analysts to go and test things out, to build prototypes, to try things, and everybody had 100 wants. They all had, from our directors to NHP to the clients, to the trusts, to the people that we were working with on a day-to-day, and so very quickly we clocked that we were overwhelmed. Very quickly, and so very quickly, Chris, you and I, we then went about place a prioritization process. How do we prioritize the work that's coming in? And we couldn't have a set criteria that we could just employ because of the political nature of the hospitals program. The nature of the hospitals program, all learning its as it went along, and so things were constantly changing. So we had to create this multidisciplinary team of makers, where we took in what was going on politically, we took in what was going on with the at a credibility level, we took in what was going on at a people, in us trying to work with people, but also skill set. And we had to keep flexing to that, because one week it would be about our skill set availability and just going, no, everybody, we can only do one thing, to actually, if we don't change, if we don't sort this one thing out, really importantly, we will lose credibility. And we were constantly juggling that process. And now we're using it to how we do all of our science work. So we've taken the learning from just working purely on the new hospital program and how that helped us make decisions. We've taken it and we're now applying it in a broader sense across the strategy units, requirements of data science. So, and that's been the joy of this, is the learning that we've done collectively, the shared humiliation that we've gone through, going, oh, we got that wrong, or oh my God, did we do well? And what was it about it that worked well? And then applying it to the rest of our work. Chaos happens.
I'll cut you off there, Karen, to leave 2 minutes for questions, if that's all right.
Yeah, great. I told you, everybody, that he was going to have to be really hard with me.
That was a really fascinating, and I'm so sorry that we've got to cut you off, because really we could spend so much more longer learning about the project, and I had one role as chair to introduce the title of the session, so apologies for that failing right at the outset. So I'm just having a look. So we're almost out of time, but if I can pose a question to Karen, if you know, what would be your sort of one take-home message for others sort of facing a similar kind of challenge? I mean, they're clearly really fascinating sort of learning from the project, but if you had to sort of put your finger on one thing for people to take away, to consider, and that's a really hard thing to throw at you.
No, it's good. It's a really great question, because first of all, stop and observe, see what's going on. Don't make judgments. Don't jump into things thinking. And if someone says jump, don't ask them how high. Stop and ask, why are they asking me to jump? What is it about this? What is the critical thing that I've got to deliver here? Because it was chaotic. So I had to create the sense, and I had to create the rules to apply in this situation. And I owned that. So there's something about my experience and age and all the things that go with that, Sian, and the fact that I've got 30 years that I was bringing into this. But I would always say stop and observe what's going on first of all. Work out what you're being absolutely clear on what your delivery thing is. It's absolutely. And then don't expect to know all the answers. And I think the humility, or the other way of describing it is compassionate leadership. I just think they are critical in the space of complex system or complex change or complex problems, because Because if you go in there telling everybody you are the expert, there will be always someone who knows more about it than you. And so go in there knowing that, and embrace their knowledge, embrace their understanding. When you're able to take your foot off the dictate, I had to do that, and it was really uncomfortable. So it's like, get comfortable being uncomfortable, observe, and then humility and compassion.
That is a fantastic summing up, and say presumably if people wanted to learn more, you'll be around in the conference, people can reach out, and I'm guessing there's probably also information about it on the strategy unit website as well. I think that was an absolutely fantastic presentation. Chris, I don't know if there's anything that you want to add before we close.
No, so we're going into a break now, so I'm going to shut us down for now. So we'll be back at 11:20. So thanks, Karen, for your insights, and thanks, Sian, for chairing. Sian will, I believe, be back chairing after the break as well. So we'll see you all at 11:20.
Brilliant. Thank you both, and thanks everyone. See you after the break.